Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador Skilled Futures for Women's virtual event, Women in Their Second Careers. This event will be approximately an hour in length, and it is jam-packed with insightful information and stories shared from our special guests. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce myself and SCNL for those of you who have never heard of us before. SCNL is a nonprofit organization that encourages and promotes skilled trades and technology careers with an immersive approach to learning. My name is Jess, and I'm the Diversity Project Coordinator with SCNL. My role is to support diverse communities in the province to access our programming through experiential learning opportunities like tonight's Skilled Futures event. I am so excited to host an event with women who are interested in exploring skilled trade or technology careers as second career options. It is never too late to pursue a passion and explore the skill sets that you have. With me tonight, also from SCNL, is my teammate Alexandra. Alexandra, would you like to say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jess. My name is Alexandra. I work with the Skill Futures for Women profile here. So I work on promoting skill futures and skilled trades and technologies within female groups within Newfoundland and Labrador.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Alexandra, for being with me here this evening. And thank you so much for everyone tuning in. If there are any questions you'd like to ask SCNL or the speakers tonight, please put them in the comment section on Facebook, and we'll get to them at the end if there's time. And so before I introduce our special guests, I just want to kind of recap what this event really is about tonight. So major life changes are challenging during the best of times. Deciding that you want a different career path is life-changing. So SCNL is hosting the Skilled Futures for Women's virtual event for women who are entering or thinking about entering a second career, specifically into skilled trades or technology-related fields. Tonight, we have 4 women who we have invited who have made the life-changing decision to switch careers into trade or technology sectors. They will be discussing the challenges they have had to overcome, the measured successes that they've had on their journey, and so much more. So tonight we have Joann Greeley. Her trade is an electrician. We have Beverly Fagan. Her trade is a welder. We have Sarah Gillam. Her trade is an electrician. And we have Korren Penney, and her technology career is a programmer analyst. And you will have the opportunity, as I mentioned at the end, to ask them questions. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first special guest of tonight's event, Joann Greeley.
Hi, Jess. Thanks so much. I'd like to first acknowledge that I'm a white settler who lives and learns, works, plays, and creates a life on the Beothuk and Mi'kmaq lands. I hope that the work I do contributes to build and repair relationships. So a little bit about myself. I came to the careers later in my life at 35. I left Newfoundland and Labrador at 18 and decided I wanted to go to the big city in Toronto. I worked in a lot of different jobs there. I didn't attend any post-secondary school, but I worked for trucking companies, insurance companies, and then after about 17 years, decided to move back to Newfoundland. And when I did, I realized that the opportunities that I had in Ontario were quite different than Newfoundland, Labrador. At that time, there was a really big push by the government of Newfoundland and Labrador to bring more women into the trades. So they had all kinds of commercials, trythetrades.com. And my father's an electrician, and he's about the same size as I am. And I decided that if he was able to do electrical work, I certainly could. And lucky enough, I was raised in a household where my mom's toolbox is as big as my dad's toolbox. She can also build, sew, paint, do anything. And my sisters and I are quite handy, if you want to use that term. We all have our own toolboxes at this point as adults. So growing up, I didn't really know that women didn't do this kind of work. And it wasn't until I became later in life that when I would meet people and tell them that I was an electrician, that they would seem surprised, or that I built something. And I guess, like I said, I was just raised in a house where when it came to building a fence, we all built the fence. My father owned a hardware store for years, and I worked in that all through high school. So I was used to being around tools and equipment and things like that. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I was really looking for financial independence when I came back here, because the availability of jobs that I was doing in Ontario weren't the same here in this province. So when it came down to it, I needed some financial help, and I was lucky enough to be supported by the government and funded to go back to school. I went to Academy Canada and did construction electrician. It was the first time I had been in a classroom in 16 years. I was the only woman in the classroom, and a lot of the guys were in their early 20s, most of them still living at home. So we were kind of worlds apart. As I told one young man one day, I've got shoes older than you. So, it was a very different kind of an atmosphere for me. But I love learning. I've always been a learner. I love learning new things. I picked up guitar at, 40 and different things. I think learning can be a lifelong journey. So with the funding, going back to school, I just really loved working with my hands. Again, it was something I was familiar with. I knew how to use a lot of tools, so it wasn't that big a jump for me. But one of the things I thought was great was the support I had from the guys in my class. And I learned really early on that there were a lot of guys in my class who didn't know how to use tools or didn't have, because sometimes I think we believe that the guys somehow know everything and we don't know anything. But what I realized when I came in was that I had loads of skills as well. I knew how to use chop saws and drills and things like that. So once I came to that understanding, it kind of changed my whole thought process on it. I was lucky enough to have an amazing teacher. He really did treat me just as another student. And then when I went to work after school, again, I worked for some really great companies who brought me along. I've had excellent journey people over the years to teach me and mentor me, people who have still answer my phone calls. I've worked with people who we've really become, lifelong pals, if you will. We celebrate each other's sadness and happy days all at the same time. So I really like the camaraderie of working in skilled trades. A lot of times when you are in skilled trades, you work a lot of long hours. Beverly and I both worked in bull arms. So we've worked, 12-hour shifts for 14 days. There's a certain amount of commiseration that happens when you're doing those kinds of shifts. And we actually lived really close to each other and would see each other all the time when we were out there. So my family was very supportive of me going into the trades. I have to say, there was no real pushback. It was just kind of like, oh, geez, that's a great idea. Why don't you? So I think one of my proudest moments is when I did pass my red seal and I was able to call my dad and tell him that I was now a red seal journey level electrician. That was a pretty cool day, I have to say. I'm only 5'4", but I think I grew another inch that day. And it was a really great feeling too, to know that I was equal to all the other guys. That's the great thing about apprenticeship, is when you start out, you are working with someone all the time. So you're never on your own. And there's always someone there to teach you what you need to do next. And my one friend had talked about that. And she said, apprenticeship is not just about learning how to put wires together. It's about building your own confidence so that when you go to work, your confidence is built up so that you know either how to do the job or who to ask how to do the job. And I really, really like that. Let's see, what else? Some of the questions you have, were there barriers? I don't think I would call it a barrier. There's always conversations about working in a more male-dominated industry, and that's changing every day. I think the Me Too movement has done a lot with that. We've seen a lot of women moving up in politics. That makes a huge difference. When Justin Trudeau chose half of his cabinet to be women when he became prime minister, for me personally, was a huge moment. It showed that I was on equal footing with other men. And I always make a joke when somebody questions me. I always ask them how my gender inhibits me from learning the theory of electricity. And that kind of stops them for a second, because really at the end of the day, that's all it is. With the way OH&S regulations are now, nobody's slugging 100 pounds. Nobody's hauling their, themselves apart. We all work with partners. So, the size thing doesn't matter anymore. So I think a lot of things have really changed. And I think a lot of women are considering trades. And, when we talk to the other women, we'll certainly see their take on that as well. One of the things you asked, I've been working in trades for about 15 years. I've worked on some of the bigger projects, Long Harbor Bull Arm. I've done a lot of commercial work, Boston Pizza, the CBC, built that, the long-term care facility. I love that kind of work. And let's see, I opened my own electrical company several years back. I did that for a couple of years. And right now I'm actually working for the Office to Advance Women Apprentices, doing outreach with them. So I'm now myself talking to young people and other people about skilled trades as a first career choice. So as we know, the skilled trades, a lot of the people are retiring. And we're going to have a skilled trade shortage in the next 5 years. And when we've got so many women that are interested in it, and we need to tell young women and men that these opportunities are available, they're viable. Most people don't know what the salaries are for skilled trades, and they think that they're quite low, but I can assure you they're not. For instance, somebody working at Bull Arm, at that project on Hebron, if you worked for a year as a construction electrician, you probably made about $140,000 that year. I know these projects sometimes seem few and far between, but if you're willing to travel and chase the money, as we call it, there's lots of money to be made. Or you can own your own business, like I did in St. John's, and support myself quite comfortably for many years. So I think the options are wide open. If you're going to go into a career that people are looking for every day, plumber, electrician, carpenter, there's no reason why you can't excel at it. I really feel that, like I said, the opportunities are endless. So that's my time with 15 seconds remaining.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joann, for sharing all of that. You definitely have so much to share. It definitely sounds like the skill sets that you had even as a kid with your family, and, you had trades workers in your family, followed you up all the way to your second career. Even though your second career sounds like it branched off into so many other ones. I mean, you have an entrepreneurial side, you're now recruiting and outreaching. So, it definitely sounds like you've advanced yourself working for an office that does advance women. So I think that's pretty cool. And I just wanted to make a note on how you talked about continuous learning. That's one of the skills that Skills Canada loves to put into their programming and their competitions is one of the 9 essential workplace skills is continuous learning. And I think that that is something really valuable to highlight for going into a second career. You're going to have to be willing to learn as you go on. It's learning a whole other type of job that you're going to do every day. It's learning what goes into that, and maybe just learning how to adapt to a new environment. Maybe someone's going from an office out into the field, like you said, in Bull Arm or something. And I'm sure that continuous learning probably plays a big part in adapting to a world like that. I also wanted to say congrats on everything that you've accomplished up to this point. I think, you noting that women in power roles and equal roles that they haven't been before is something worth celebrating. So I think it's great. It makes my heart happy to do an event like this and to be able to celebrate women like yourself in such empowered roles. And about the viable career options for skilled trades, 110%. I couldn't agree with it more. And even the good pay, one of the 3 big benefits we talk about when promoting skilled trades is good pay. It's a reward. And then if you do your apprenticeship, and then, like you said, you get your red seal, you're just looking at better pay with the higher education levels you have. So I just wanted to reiterate on a lot of things you said, because it hit home and it ties in with Skills Canada a lot. As you know our organization well. But thank you so much for sharing your story today, Joann.
You're very welcome.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to move on to the next special guest we have this evening. So Beverly, you're up.
Hi, I'm Beverly Fagan, and I'm a journey person Red Seal welder. I grew up in a mining town, and when I was in high school, I was pushed to university because I was a good student. Women did not do trades. It just was not something they did. Even though we grew up in a mining town, it was just something you didn't do. So for many years, I went to university. I didn't like it. I kept changing my major because nothing really interested me. I would get bored and I'd be like, oh my God, this is so much hard work. And there was no reward for me. Like, I just felt like I was doing so much hard work and not getting any reward for it. So then I took a break from university and I started working in customer service, which I hated, absolutely hated every single minute of it. I quit so many customer service jobs, it's not even funny. But anyway, that's what I did because I was stuck. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't want to go to university and I don't want to continue on the path I'm on. What am I supposed to do? And like Joann, I lived in Ontario. I lived in Toronto for 7 years, loved it up there, but I was very stagnant. I was like, okay, I got to do something got to change. So I moved back to Newfoundland. Went to university again. So I'll try it again. Same thing. It was like, yeah, no, this ain't working. And I happened to see an ad in the newspaper one day for a program called Orientation to Trades and Technology for Women. And I was like, wait a minute, what's this? It was a 6-month program that exposed women to different trades. You got to actually try a trade. And I thought, whoa, that sounds pretty cool. Like, how do I get in on this? But the odd thing was I had a job and I had been working for years. And this program was designed for women who were not working or were in a situation where, you know, they needed financial help or whatever. So I actually did not qualify to do this program. But luckily for me, they had an extra seat that they wanted to fill. And I met them and said, look, you know, this is what I want. I want to do this. I really want to do this. I want to try it. And they said, okay, you know, we got a little bit extra here. We can get you in this program. So I was like, yes. We did electrical, we did millwrighting, we did machining, roughnecking, which I loved, carpentry. You know, we did a lot of different things. When I tried the welding, I was like, I'm done. This is my job. This is it. I'm done. I can do this every day and be happy. And I can say that it's true. I haven't looked back since. I went and did the apprenticeship program in 2004 for welding at the College of North Atlantic in St. John's and became an apprentice. There were some rough roads ahead, definitely. It was a big deal for me to do that. My family was not very supportive. They were kind of like, yeah, women don't do that. You shouldn't be doing that. You had a perfectly good job. Why did you give up that job to do this? No, 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 no. And I was like, well, sorry, I'm doing it anyway. This is what I want to do. And I would not be deterred. My first job came because when I did my work term, instead of just going off in the corner or just walking around the shop and observing like you were supposed to, I went up to one of the welders and said to him, can I work with you? Can I watch you do what you're doing? He said, sure, no problem. I figured, what can he say? He can say no or yes. He said yes. And as the days went on, he kept giving me, okay, why don't you try this? And why don't you do this a little bit here? And why don't you do that? By the end of the 2 weeks, I was up on a table welding right next to him. And my instructor from the school came in and he was like, whoa, okay, don't got to worry about her. She's good. But like I said, there were some struggles financially, just because the work was off and on, up and down. And that is what skilled trades, it happens. It's just the way the industry is. You just have to be prepared for that. I got my journey persons in 2011 and pretty much have been regular working since then. I worked in Bull Arm, Long Harbor, the new crusher in IOC in Lab City. I've worked in Voisey's Bay. I did a short stint out in Manitoba, but most of my work has been in Newfoundland, which I'm very grateful for. And as Joann said, when we were in Bull Arm, we made money. There was no two ways about it. You made money. The smart thing to do was to keep that money, not to go out and buying all this stuff like everybody was, oh, I'm buying a bike, I'm buying a trike, I'm buying a screws. Like, no, keep your money. You can buy some stuff, keep your money. And so that is something you really have to learn in the trades. And actually, someone told me that when I first started. A guy I worked with, an old timer, as we would call him, said, if you can't survive off your EI in this racket, you shouldn't be doing it. And he was right, because there are ups and downs in the industry. Some people are always working, some people are not. I myself prefer to be on the bigger projects, which is my choice. Like that's what I like. I do sometimes work in shops like locally, but I would rather go out on the big project, see what's going on, that kind of thing. As far as education goes, I'm always learning on the job or learning from others. You have to always learn. You have to be willing to learn and do whatever, you know, and just even for yourself, it's just a good thing to do in general. What else am I supposed to talk about? Oh yeah. Skills that are necessary, I think, for in the skills trade are, you have to have a really good work ethic, a good attitude, because as a woman, you know, if you get a little bit, you know what they're going to say, but whatever. You need patience. You have to persevere, stick with it. And if someone says no to you, that's okay. Just keep on going. Your yes might come the next day. Not a problem. A no is just a word. That's all it is. Just keep on going. You have to be flexible and you have to be ready for anything. And I tell people, if anyone asks me about like, oh, I'm thinking about going into trades, should I do it? And I'll say, well, what trade are you interested in? And if they say welding or electrician, I'll say, you know what? The best thing you can do, if you have an opportunity to go in a welding shop or an electrical shop or an automotive shop, to try it, to see what the environment is like, to get the smells from that environment, to see the dirt, to hear the noise, because it's going to be dirty, it's going to be loud, it's going to smell, all that's going to happen. And, you know, some people walk into those places and they're like, not for me. I walk in there and I'm like, yes, I'm home, feels good. I never check my time, so you're going to have to tell me. What else? The money is awesome. It is. But like I said, you have to be sensible about it. You can't just be like, go crazy. I mean, you can, I suppose, but then you'll be broke. So I don't know. What else? What else? I switched careers because, like I said, I wasn't happy. I was very, very unhappy. Felt I was wasting my time doing nothing. And like I said, no one really said to me, try a trade. But now for women, it's completely different. You can do whatever you want to do. You can do any trade you want to do. It doesn't matter. And lots of the trades branch off into different things. Like Joann does different things. In welding, there's a lot of different areas you can go into. You can go into teaching. You can go into instructing. You can go into quality control, lots of different areas, depending what your interest is. Or, you know, if I ever get sick of packing up my suitcase and going, well, then, okay, I'll find some other aspect that I'll do. The main thing out of my trade that I like is I'm productive. I can do things. I work with my hands. At the end of the day, I can say, yeah, I helped build that, like the bull arm rig. I mean, come on, right? What a fantastic thing to be a part of. It's just an amazing achievement for the whole province and for women to be a part of that. And hopefully, you know, we'll get more stuff like that on the go. We'll just have to wait and see. What else? I don't know. Is my time up? Do I have more time? I don't know what time it is.
If you have more to share, Beverly, you go right ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I got lots to say back to you because what you've been sharing is amazing. But if you have more to add, please feel free.
Okay. I did have, like, when I went, my second job I went on, I met a mentor there, and it was funny because he told me after, he said, this was actually in St. John's, at the St. John's dockyard. And he said, when he saw me, he thought, oh dear, she's green. That's exactly what he thought. She's green. I got to help her. And he did. Like, this was guy is like big, rough, tumble guy, you know, like, I would probably never go up to him, but he was like, oh God, I got to help her. You know, she's green. She doesn't know what she's doing. And he was right, obviously, because I was an apprentice. So you do get support from a lot of the guys in the industry. Are you going to meet bad people? Sure. You're going to meet people that don't want you there and think you don't belong there. But they are few and far between, and they're getting less. What I found about skilled trades was you're on a more even footing because we all start at the same place. We all start as an apprentice and work up to our JP level. You start off at the same rate of pay. And when you're a journey person, it's the same thing. Could be me. I've been on a cruise where I'm the only woman with 20 guys, and we're all journey persons, and we're all getting the same rate, period. That's it. Like, there's none of this, the man gets more. There's none of that happens in skilled trades. Everybody gets the same rate, depending if you're an apprentice, third year, fourth year, or if you're a journey person. And I think that's a really fantastic thing. It's puts everybody on an even level. And that's really important, I think. I think I've covered everything. Just, like I said, if anyone's interested in the trades, my advice is to try it. You got to know what you're in for. You got to realize you're going to get dirty. I don't wear my hair like this. There's lots of people don't have no idea what my hair color is because my hair is up and under a hard hat. They don't see it. And I meet guys in the mall sometimes and they're like, oh, I don't know her. And I'm like, yes, you do. I worked with you in Voices. They're like, oh, okay. I know who you are now. So that's pretty cool. I kind of like that. Anyway, that's my story. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Beverly. I think your third career could be a stand-up comedian because you've had me in the knots. No, it's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I would definitely note that you for sure have perseverance. I know it's a skill that you said will be good for other folks to have, pursuing skilled trade careers. You definitely have it. I'm someone who can relate to going to university, not liking it. I went for 3 years and it just wasn't for me. Same as you, worked in customer service. I ended up staying for 7 years in it, but I didn't bounce around. But I still can't say that it was something that I knew I wanted to do forever. I ended up graduating from a trades college myself, and I loved it. So I can definitely relate to that. And I think it is important to know that everyone's different. Some folks go to university, absolutely love it, thrive in it. And then other people need more hands-on, one-on-one learning, like yourself and I going to trades colleges. And, it's just a different learning environment, and everyone's different. And I think it aligns with what kind of passions or jobs they want to pursue. And the question that you asked, or the note story that you said about your family saying a perfectly good job that you had, I think there's a question to be asked about that, to define exactly what a perfectly good job is, because I know I've been asked it before. I've seen other people asked it before when they're going to pursue a job that might be a little unorthodox to their gender roles that people are assumed them to have, or what they expected them to do because of what they did in school. And I think it's really important to break down that stigma when it comes to skilled trades and women specifically, by forming communities like this one and hosting events with women like yourselves, empowering others to pursue skilled careers, especially if that's something that they want to do. And I think another cool thing about trades, as you mentioned, is the freedom and options. If you want to work on a big project, you can do that. Or if you like being on the smaller, different job every day, if you're someone who's indecisive, then maybe that part of it's attractive to you. I think that's the really cool thing about skilled careers, is there's a lot of flexibility and freedom for the people that are in them. And the try a trade advice that you would give someone is amazing. Skills Canada, Newfoundland and Labrador does try a trades with youth in the province to get them thinking about what they'd like to do for their future career options. And like you said, is getting your hands dirty, taking in the smells, the textures, all the 9 yards of the welding shop or whatever it is. And I think that's some really sound advice. So thank you so much for sharing that with us this evening, Beverly.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next up, I would like to invite Sarah to share her story.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Gillam. I am a Red Seal electrician. First, I apologize for the cat butt there a little while ago going up. Hopefully she's gone away for good now. There's a lot of similarities between myself, Joann, Beverly that I've heard already. I also went to university a couple years after high school. I actually went to Ontario to support a man doing civil engineering. And when we came home, I decided I would try university. I wanted to do psychology. I wanted to do clinical psychology, and I got so far through it. Then I ended up with a little bit of a health scare, and it was my doctor had explained to me I would probably do better in a profession where I wasn't sitting all the time. So that kind of threw all that out the window. So I had to start looking at different things, didn't really know what I wanted to do. Worked at like a smoothie place for a little while, then ended up in a restaurant bar situation in a very well-established restaurant and bar that was downtown St. John's. And during that time, I worked my way up between being just a bartender to a waitress, to eventually an assistant manager, to a manager, to a general manager. And I think that that would make most people pretty happy that I had kind of gone as far as I could go with it. But at the same time, I had gone as far as I could go with it. And the restaurant that I was working in catered to the oil industry. So I was watching these men come in all the time who seemed like they could just kind of have the lifestyle they wanted. They weren't really worried too much about anything. And a lot of the girls I knew that would come in at the same time were just worried about how they were going to see if they could get a date with that guy, you know? And in my mind, I was like, no, I want to be that guy. Like, I want to be able to have someone on my arm who I can decide whether or not I want them there, you know what I mean? Or whatever. I just wanted the control. I didn't want anybody else to decide how my life was going to go. And then when I was 29, I ended up finding out I was pregnant. So I decided, well, the bar industry was definitely not going to be what I was going to be able to do after that. So I started looking into different career paths. My dad's a welder. I spoke to him about it. I first thought maybe welding was going to be the way I wanted to go with him. And he sat down and he showed me that electrical was really broad, and I may have an opportunity to work either inside the city or outside the city at big sites, but either way I could kind of choose and go whichever way I wanted to go. Because I was about to be a new mom, I decided that might be the best option. So I started in Academy Canada, the same as Joann. I wasn't actually finished my maternity leave when I started. So I was actually coming home and nursing during lunch times. That was fun. My mom is amazing, and she helped me so much with my daughter during that time. She would watch her for me so I could do my 9-month program. Shortly after I went to OAWA, they got me some subsidy, started out my first job so that you get that first foot in the door. From there, I went to another larger construction company, worked with them up until I guess I was like 2 years into my Red Seal when it was just before COVID. And now I'm into a really awesome maintenance position here in town with an amazing company where I feel like I know nothing again because it's all troubleshooting and I have a lot left to learn, but that's awesome. That's what I like. I really love that part about the trade. I think I was someone who always wants to continue learning. And that's what I really like about this field is that I'm never going to know everything. And on top of that, they keep changing everything. So even if you do feel like you know it, they're going to change it in 3 years anyways. So beyond that, I really like being in this just because I have a little girl. She's 8 now. She knows that what I do. And she knows that it takes like strong, really dedicated personality types to be able to just say, this is what I'm going to do and see ya, I'm doing it. And so I want her to be able to see that in me and kind of learn that for herself, which I think she already has. She's pretty, you know, she's pretty outgoing herself. I also really like helping everybody else coming up. I was given a lot of mentorship through different organizations, and now I like to kind of give back to it the same way, like the Gusto program, which is through WRDC up until COVID started. I was an electrician, and then there was a carpenter there with me, a female carpenter, and we were going into high schools teaching girls how to build lamps, which was super cool because they get to actually do hands-on and same kind of thing, like where they, you know, try a trade, right? So they kind of see how it all goes together. I mean, I think everything comes with struggles. You know, I don't think a trade is any different than a degree or anything else. I think it's actually really closely related to a degree, except that you get paid while you're in school. Really, that's the only difference. I mean, it still takes 4 years. It still takes a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you're still coming out with something. So I don't know. I mean, struggles, yeah, but everything is, right? If it's worth doing. So what else can we talk about? What am I forgetting?
You've been doing amazing so far, so don't feel like you haven't. Your story is just so great to hear about, Sarah. I mean, I have a couple questions for you anyways. Who played a big role in mentoring you? Like, was it, you know, organizations like OAWA? Was it family members? Like, was there one sound role model that really, it sounds like your dad probably played a really big part in that for you. Is there one mentor that you think kind of really helped drive it home for you to pursue the trade that you did?
Yeah, so different than Joann, like my dad's a welder. I mean, but he never really, when I was a child, it wasn't really so much about come out here and do this with me now and see how it works. It wasn't until I really started talking about a trade that he really started to show me different things and gear me in a different path. But as I got older, I realized the things that he didn't do for me are the things that he was doing for me. Like even now, I mean, we bought our own home a few years ago, and as soon as we buy it, like everything just starts to break, of course. So, you know, and the electrical, I can do it, but like the plumbing, I don't have a clue, right? So I call my dad and I'm just like, there's something wrong with my toilet and I know what it is, but it's like this big thing in the inside. And so he's like, oh yeah, that's a bleep to bloop. I'll drop one of those off to you. And he just dropped it off. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do with this? And he's like, oh, you'll figure it out. And then he called me later on that night and he's like, how'd it go? And I'm like, it's fixed, you know? And he's like, yeah, okay. And he sells pellet stoves. So our housewarming gift was a pellet stove. So he comes over and brings it in the house and we get it onto the pad that he made me make, by the way. And he asked for coffee and he just sat down and handed me the whole saw and said, well, there you go. Just do it. Figure it out. I'm here. You know, and that's always been his parenting. The way that he's always taken the approach with it is that he's there if you need his help, but he wants you to do it. And then my second toilet went and I said, can you pick me up that part? And he picked up the part and he said, okay, I'm timing you. So it's like 7 minutes, Dad, I'm done. So there. But other people, I'd say I had a really good journeyman going through and he was awesome. He's actually still a really good friend of mine. His daughter is the same age as my daughter. So she's actually going there for a sleepover on Friday night. But he actually took the time to really tell me that the confidence problem that I had was my own deal and nobody else saw that. Like it wasn't, you know, if I felt like maybe I was different because I was female or I wasn't strong enough or maybe I wasn't going to get it or whatever, whether or not I thought it was because I was a female or just because I was new to the trade or whatever like that, he would just always like still reminds me that any issues I might have with confidence is all in the back of my mind. And that's what's stopping me from going further with it. Right. So I think everybody going through trades, if they get lucky enough to experience even one person like that, it'll be enough for you to keep going the whole way, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing all of that. I did just want to note, no need to apologize about your cat. If I was home, my cat would be doing the exact same thing. I think she's informally become a part of the SCNL staff team. She's been on that
Yes.
many. So no problem about that. I'm sad I missed it, by the way. It definitely seems like, your independence played a really big role in your second career choice. It definitely, of course, sounds like you had influencers in your life, role models. You want to be one for your daughter. And by the sounds of your career path, the health scare you had, the different career, you've had multiple career sectors in your life already. It definitely sounds like you wanting to be, your own boss, not in terms of an entrepreneur, but your own person. Like you said, you wanted to be the person that walked in, not be their date. All of that just speaks to your independence and you really wanting to do your job and do it, get it there by yourself and get it done, which is really great. And I think that all really helped influence why you switched careers and why you went down the trade pathway. So I think that's really cool. And I love that you tie in really personal examples. It really helps get to know you and your story. So thank you so much for sharing that. Skills Canada loves mentorships. We try and do it so much, especially within our Skilled Futures programming. So I think you noting that you want to be one for your daughter and that being a really driving force for you to, do well in your career. It sounds like she's going to, come up through in her mom's footsteps. If she's already independent at whatever age she is, then I'm sure, you might have a little electrician or plumber or something on your hands when they get older. But thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your story.
No problem. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome our fourth and final special guest of tonight's event, Korren.
Thank you for inviting me to be here this evening. Like Beverly and Sarah, I went from high school into university. I had no idea what I wanted to do. In fact, I actually took a year off between university and high school to try and figure it out. But I couldn't. And my parents pretty much said, you have to go to university because that's what people do. I spent 2 years in university with no focus, therefore no drive, and I did not do as well as I'd like. And my failure at university the first time around really shook my confidence. I had many customer service jobs, several in call centers, one call center in particular, and then I moved into the Canada Revenue Agency call site, which was a fairly good job. It paid well, but it didn't provide me with stability because it was contract work. And I hate talking on the phone. I'm not big on talking on computers either, but I'm making an exception for this. So I really wanted to get off the phone. I was able to move over to a different section at CRA, which I really enjoyed doing the work as a benefits processing officer. But again, it wasn't a permanent position. It was contract. I couldn't plan vacations because I didn't know if either I'd be on contract or if I'd be turning down work by having a plan. It wasn't until I actually had a car accident in 2012 that I kind of looked at my life and said, I need to make some changes. I had to go to see a psychologist for a while. And one of the things that we brought up in our discussions was that I always felt like I was stupid, like I lacked confidence because I didn't have that little piece of paper, that little education that proves that I'm capable of doing stuff. Even though I was very well accomplished in my volunteer life, I just lacked that confidence. So she suggested that I look at what's available within the area. So if I was going to go back to school, she said to me that there were a few things you should look at when you're doing it. One, what do you really enjoy doing? Two was, are you willing to go away for school or do you want to stay in the area? At the time I had 5 nieces and 1 nephew. As of today, I have 7 nieces, 3 nephews, and a great nephew. So staying in the city meant a big deal to me because I like to be that fun aunt that takes them to the movies, that, plays video games with them, fills them up with junk food, and then sends them back to mom and dad. So right off the bat, I knew I wasn't leaving St. John's. I pulled up all the colleges available in the city, Academy Canada, Kean Tech, College of the North Atlantic, and looked at the different programs that were offered there. I looked at my job at CRA and with the call site and really did some analysis as to what really drove me, what made me happy when I was working there. And it was when I was working with web pages or providing some technical support to my colleagues, helping them with computer problems. So then I knew right off the bat, okay, I need to go into technology. I found a course on the College of the North Atlantic's website called, at the time, it was called Programmer Analyst Business Co-op. Right now it's called Software Developer Business Co-op, because it's software mostly. The thing that really drew me to the program was that it offered 3 paid work terms. So when I graduated, it would mean that I would have the equivalent of a full year's experience on top of the other experience that I had. I was so nervous. I had the well-paying job, but I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and apply for it. So I applied, and I got called back to work. So that meant I wouldn't be eligible for funding that I was hoping to get to go back to school. It also turned out that my English grade wasn't good enough, which was funny because at CRA, I used to write letters all the time, like complicated letters. I feel like math is my, weak point, but my math marks were more than fine from high school. So I had to write a test, and I got the appropriate mark to get into the program. But by the time they marked the test, the program was full. So I was put on the wait list, and I, hounded and harassed the admissions lady every week. Am I off the list yet? Am I off the list yet? And finally I got off the list, but the program had been a week into things. I was already feeling like there's no way I can do this. So I delayed my enrollment for 1 year, which allowed me to, work a little bit more, put a little bit more money aside. I never told anybody in my family that I was planning on going back to school until the week before I started. We do family dinners on Sundays, and everybody's at the house, and I'm like, oh, by the way, starting Tuesday, I'm in school. They're like, did you lose your job? Why did you leave? Like, no, I've decided that this is what I want to do. Now, I didn't just quit CRA because, I had zero confidence that I was going to be successful. So I spoke with my manager, and she was very happy for me, very supportive, and she gave me a great big old hug and said, you go do your thing. And if it doesn't work out for you, we will definitely keep you on the list and call you back next year, because the program that I was working for at the time would run usually from June to September, sometimes a little bit longer on either end. So off I went to school, and we're sat in this class, and I'm in a class with, I would say, about 23 other people, 2 other girls. There are nobody in the class close to my age. In fact, one of the young men that was in the class pointed out when we were doing our little bios at the beginning that when I graduated high school, he hadn't even been born. And I was like, great. How am I supposed to compete with, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, these kids who've been using computers since they were 2 years old? And, how do you compete with that? When you have those courses in elementary school and in high school. So I was a little bit worried, but I was determined. And I had some great instructors in the College of North Atlantic. In fact, what really struck me was that about half of the instructors in my program were women. So that right off the bat inspired me that, okay, this isn't something that I can do this, because there are people who've done it before me. So my first year goes through, and in the spring, the Canada Revenue Agency was using the college's extended education program to teach some of their managers how to use Excel. So my manager happened to be in the building, and we, ran into each other because the classroom that I was going to was right next to the classroom they were going to. And we were chatting, and I got an email to my phone because I had my email going to my phone. And she asked me, are you coming back, do you think, at the end of the year? I opened up my email, and I had just been awarded a leadership scholarship award for my grades and my contributions. So I looked at it and I said, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm going to keep this up for another year at least. The next semester came along and I did great. I managed to get one of the first work terms. And I had some great mentors there. I really jumped into it. I wasn't there just to sit back and watch other people do the work. I took part. I started, as soon as they let me on my own, I was doing things on my own. And when I finished, the team leader was amazed. She said, "You were just like so quickly like one of the team, like not like a student, basically." By the time the program finished, I did all 3 of my work terms with them. It was the OCIO office with the provincial government. And at the end of the program, I was the only woman left standing. It was really an accomplishment. And one of the mentors and the instructors that I had at the beginning of the program said, "You know, when you first started and you had to do a test, I didn't think you were going to make it through on your math because your math was so weak." But she said, "I am so delighted to see, you know, how much work you've put into it and what a great example you've done. And we're, you know, just so proud of what you've accomplished." So when I finished in 2017, I had a few jobs lined up or a few interviews lined up. And I was waiting for basically funding to come in for my position with the provincial government. But I didn't want to be just sitting around waiting in case the funding didn't come in. So I applied for a couple of jobs, and one of them was with a company called Secor. Secor is a research and development firm that's located on MUN's campus, and we basically do all kinds of research projects, such as things to make offshore oil safer. We monitor pipelines, we monitor rivers, we build ground stations. There's a lot of stuff that Secor does. And when I applied for the job, I was like, yeah, there's no way they're going to interview me because I'm just, you know, fresh out of school. But I'm going to apply anyways because I want to apply on everything. And I went to the interview. I got a call for an interview. And then I got told that the funding was coming through for the other position. I forgot to write down the interviewer's name or the person who called me's name. And I said, well, I can't just call and I don't know who I'm saying that I want to cancel my interview for. So I'll just go for the practice because, you know, you can never get too much interview practice. So I'm sitting in the lobby and I'm, you know, reading one of their brochures about what they do. And I think this is kind of interesting. And I go into the interview and we do the interview and we chat. And when I leave the office, I think to myself, man, that place seems like it would be a lot of fun to work for. And they do some pretty cool stuff. And I think I did fairly good with the interview. So I think I might have a choice when I get back to my home. So a few days later, I get the call and I'm offered the position. And I, you know, struggled to make the choice because I really enjoyed working with the provincial government, with OCIO. And I knew that I could do what the job at OCIO was offering, but the opportunity with Secor was completely different. It was using most of what I learned, but it was like just stuff that I really never did in the workplace. So I decided, why not take the chance? And I made the call to go work with Secor. And I have been, you know, enjoying my position every day since. I'm doing different stuff all the time. I provide technical support to other people within the company. You know, when they're having meetings using Zoom or Teams or WebEx, I'm the one that helps them support using it if they aren't sure how to use it. I have been doing this week a lot of how-to videos on a new system that I've been heavily involved with configuring. I am, one of the really cool things that I get to work with is a device called the HoloLens. One of our groups, Look North, they loan these HoloLenses out to other companies, and as a partnership with Cognitive Spark, and that's cognitive with a K, that allows people in the north to borrow these units, and it helps them, it basically brings a holographic vision of what they're working on, and it connects them with an expert like hundreds of thousands of miles away to kind of be able to fix things, such as these $10,000 drones that they use to monitor things in the Northwest Territories. So these device, it's a headset that you put on, and it's like a set of glasses, and then the person in front of the drone will be looking at it, and then there's a person on the other end that will basically show them a hologram, and they will be able to pick it apart basically without actually picking it apart and play around with it. It's really cool. That really excites me, being able to work with that kind of technology. So to answer some of the questions that you have there, like what type of skills that you need for my career, you definitely need to be able to continue learning. There's no sense to go into a technology field and say, all right, I'm done college, that's all my learning. No, it doesn't work that way. I'm learning something new pretty much every day. I've really, by going back to school, gained a great deal of confidence in what I'm doing. In fact, I am continuing to learn this year. I am enrolled with a course that'll turn my diploma into a degree with the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, and my classes actually start tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that, because I'm going to get a chance to learn even more. And if I don't keep learning, then I will get stagnant in my field, and there's no point in being in technology if you're not willing to keep learning. So that is my story. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Korren, for sharing all of that. That's amazing. I can definitely say, don't worry about the harassment with your school. I did the same thing with College of the North Atlantic here in St. John's. I was on a wait list and I called so many times. I feel like I still need to apologize. And that was 3 years ago. So I can relate to what that's like, waiting to get in. It just shows that you're eager. That's the way I talked myself out of the guilt for that one.
I am sure the admin person at the time was Barb Mayo. I'm sure she saw my email come in and would be like, not her again, or had a auto reply set up in her inbox to send me a message saying, nope, not yet.
Yeah, I can relate. I feel the same way. Heather Doyle, if you are watching, I apologize sincerely at the College of the North Atlantic.
I think Barb retired maybe the next year, and I'm not going to say that was me, but
that's awesome. Well, in terms of speaking of school, good luck going back. Best of luck. You sound excited, which is always great, and good luck with that additional feat. Of course, it's a lot to take on going back to school, so especially with a full-time job. So I'm sure you'll do great, but I just wanted to extend my good luck to you. I also just wanted to note to you, you talked a lot, Korren, about fears and insecurities that you had, getting up to this job that you have now, and listening to you talk about how excited you are about your job. I just wanted to kind of add in there that tonight you could very well be standing in as that type of inspiration to someone tuned in on Facebook Live tonight who's considering trying a technology career with those exact same fears and insecurities. So I just wanted to share with you how valuable your presence is here tonight. And I'm just really grateful to have heard your story and to have met you virtually this evening, hopefully sometime in person.
Sure.
When it comes to the skill sets with technology, absolutely. You talked about low grades in English and math, and then now look at you, you're going back to school again to just learn more. Brings it right back to Joann talking about continuous learning, and Beverly and Sarah, all of you had hit home that, you're constantly learning in a trade or technology career and how important it is. The industry always changes, but you also want to change as you're evolving with it, and you want to be better at your job. You want to bring more to the table because you love your jobs. And I think that's something really important to note there that all of you have really highlighted. So before we kind of clue up, I don't have any more questions for anybody, but I did just want to touch on a few different points, as well as saying thank you so much. All of you talked about how happy you are. It shows in the pride and empowerment feelings that have been expressed through all of you with your jobs you have now and the journey you've gotten to get there, despite any challenges you've had to overcome. You all seem very happy in your roles. So I'm super happy to hear that. The community support, which is where I'm going to invite Joann Joann to hop on for a second again to really just drive home that organizations like Skills Canada, OAWA, family, coworkers, and even employers that you have or have had in the past to help lift you up and get you to your dream job, whatever that might look like, are all really driving forces for someone pursuing a career, especially their second career, because it does involve a lot of things to shift in your life. And the third one is really, as Sarah mentioned, technology has impacted and changed a lot of jobs. As you mentioned, Korren, it changes a lot. It's constantly evolving. And I think that's really important. COVID-19 has had a huge impact on a lot of jobs, and jobs that didn't necessarily involve technology use now do. And so I think everyone can really relate to what that adaptation has had to look like. But Joann, would you like to hop on and talk a little bit about what OAWA does to support women in trades?
Sure, yeah. So the Office to Advance Women Apprentices is there for women after they finish their 9-month. We also do career counseling beforehand if you're not sure what trade you'd like to try. We have career counselors that you can speak with, and they'll talk to you about your interests and what it is that may be more suited to you. And then once you do finish your trades training, the office is there then to support you and help you get to your red seal. That's the mandate of the office. It's wraparound skills, resume building, contacting companies for you. Certainly Sarah's just recently got a new job, and I saw it online. I sent it to her. I sent it to Mary in her office. And when I talked to Sarah about it, I was like, what do you think about that job? She goes, I'll tell you what, if I don't get the job, I want to meet the person that does, because this is the job for me. And I just loved everything about that. And, Sarah and I talked about it. Mary called the company, and now she's doing that job. So, and then the other thing that we have besides the formal job job search and things like that, is we have a group of women that work in the trades that are there for each other. Beverly and I have known each other for almost 15 years now. Sarah I met about 5 or 6 years ago. And that network of women is right across Canada, certainly through social media. Facebook has many tradeswomen chats for each individual province, and then we have ones for all of Canada. There's international chats. There's people right across the country, all over North America, down in Australia. So there's lots of places that you can go for support if you need it. And I really hope, Korren, that you have that support as well. And if not, you can call me anytime. And it's just really great. And Beverly and I know we've worked on so many jobs together that when you're having a super crappy day, it's just nice to look at your friend and go, oh, that was a crappy day. And your friend goes, yes, but tomorrow is going to be a better day. And, sometimes that's all we need is just that, someone to listen. And I'm so fortunate that I have that support. And I love working for the Office to Advance Women Apprentices, just to get to see people go from, they're just starting out in their careers. And then when we get the phone call that they have passed the red seal, we're all jumping up and down. It's a real group effort. And I'll tell you, I'm so proud of all the women I've known over the years. We've really held each other up, and there's been lots of fun, interesting conversations. My favorite part is when we get to build stuff together and volunteer together, because that just shows that we're all very capable of what we do in our careers. And I want to thank both you and Alexandra for hosting this evening. This has been great. I'm always so inspired, to hear the stories. And like I said, I know Sarah and Beverly really well, and I will listen to their stories 100 more times, because it's just so inspiring to be like, yes, we are doing it. It's not we can do it. We are doing it. And I'm so hopeful for anybody who's considering a career in the trades. Reach out to our Office to Advance Women Apprentices. We'll certainly do what we can to help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joann, for sharing that. And thank you so much to all the 4 special guests tonight. It was wonderful to hear your stories. Thank you so much to everyone tuned in. We are putting an evaluation form in the Facebook comment section right now. We encourage everyone who's watching to fill it out for a chance to win a swag bag from Skills Canada, but also because we really value and appreciate your feedback of your event or of the experience story of your event this evening. We take all the information that we receive from those and really deliver them in future programming, because we want to cater them to your interests and career passions that you have. I also wanted to take a moment to thank the provincial government. Without them, we wouldn't have events like Skill Futures be possible. So we're very grateful for that support. But to the panelists, again, just thank you so much for sharing your stories. If anyone tuned in is considering trying a trade or a technology career as a second career, try it like Beverly and Sarah, they mentioned, try a trade and just reach out to folks like Joann at OAWA, reach out to us at Skills Canada and get to know us a little bit more. We can connect you with so many people in the fields to try them with your hands, or just ask those uncomfy questions where you're not really sure because of whatever insecurities or barriers might be going on. But skilled trade and technology careers are where it's at. Like Joann said, girl power and all that fun stuff, they're doing it. They can't just do it. They're already doing it. So might as well join the wolf pack. But thank you so much to everybody. Really grateful for this event, grateful for everyone tuned in, and I hope you all stay safe.